Hi everyone, I'm Adrian, Jay, Philip. We're from Audio Excellence in Canada. And today we're going to talk about a topic that's somewhat controversial, which is source or speakers, which makes a big difference. So let me just sort of preface it by talking a bit about the history. In the 50s and 60s, it was commonly acknowledged that speakers made a huge difference, and it was pretty obvious why that was the case. If you went from a small speaker to a big speaker, the big speaker had more bass, played louder, filled the room easier, and so on and so on. And then in the early 80s, maybe even late 70s, a gentleman by the name of Ivor Tiffenbrand, who founded a company called Lynn, said, no, that's all wrong. Start with the source. Turntable back then was the dominant source, and turntables make more difference than anything else. And the logic was garbage in, garbage out, which logically makes a lot of sense. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about that today and have the guys give you their thoughts. And again, just to let everybody know, none of this is scripted. I come up with the ideas and the topics, some notes, and they tell you what they think, and go from there. Philip, what do you think?
Gee, chicken and egg. What comes first? The sandwich? No. So I know all those stories. I know all that mythology and or the history. But when I was growing up, I was taught 50% of your budget should go towards speakers. So obviously I was taught speakers are the most important thing. And yet at the same time, I always sought to buy the best source possible. So I don't know how to answer that in an accurate way.
My God, he's actually equivocating. Here's a guy who's never short on opinions, but he's equivocating.
Because the whole thing is a synergistic approach. So it all matters. I don't know where to start. I think you start where the opportunity lies, where the opportunity is best. So if you can get a really good pair of speakers at a price that you can afford, and get those. If you can get a really good source, get the source. You can't go wrong either way, because ultimately you're going to change everything and buy the best possible piece of gear for every category. And I know that's not a great answer in a sense, but this is what I believe. It's not a closed loop type of thing where once you buy something you're stuck. This is not what we do here. We're talking about going on a journey, and you start in one place and you end up in another place, a better place. So whether you start with source or speakers, to me it doesn't really matter. That's my honest answer.
Okay, Jay.
There's no simple answer for this one, but if it was up to me, if it was like me that's choosing, I would say speakers, because to me, a source is like a DAC or a streamer, and it just makes me feel like I need to spend more money on my speakers. Like it's more physical. I don't know how to explain it. If it was up to me, and I always build my system around my speakers, so it has always been that way for me. I never went from source to speaker. I went always from speaker to source.
Well, didn't I teach you that though?
Yeah. So I really can't think of it the other way. Perhaps source can be very important, and I'm sure it is, and a lot of people build it the other way. But I've always done from speaker to source, so I really don't know. There's no clear answer for that one.
Okay.
Controversial. Oh my.
Well, so I have some guidelines, and this is something that you can certainly verify. If you are an analog fan, so turntables, assuming that you have a decent turntable and arm, so for example a Project or a used Lynn, used Oracle with a decent tone arm, you can typically get much bigger differences by switching over to different cartridges. Again, I'm not saying that it'll sound better. Hear me very clearly. I'm saying that the differences will be very dramatic. One of these days, we're actually going to do a demonstration like that, where we'll take same turntable, two similar turntables with the same tone arm, and we'll just try different cartridges and film that and see if you can hear that through the internet. And then we'll maybe switch over to a different turntable with the same tone arm and the same cartridge, and then see what a turntable actually does or contributes. So my thought is that, again, if it's a decent turntable with a decent tone arm, switching different cartridges, you will hear much bigger differences. Again, not necessarily better, but much bigger differences. With speakers, it's the same thing. If you go, just give you an illustration. Let's say brand X makes really good bookshelf speakers, and they also make, in the same series, a floor standing speaker using the similar drivers and so on. Again, assuming really good designer, good brand, you can instantly hear that a floor standing speaker will typically give you more bass, more dynamics, play louder, and so on, all things being equal. So that's what I mean about they'll make a bigger difference. Now, will that difference be better for you? That's something that you have to listen to and consider. Of course, when it comes to speakers, you also, to take Philip's point, have to make sure that there's system synergy. You cannot go to a speaker that requires more power and more current and use a much lower quality amplifier and expect it to sound as good. It may not. So that's my take on that particular subject. The other thing, as far as amplifiers, I should say, sorry, I meant in terms of speakers, always choose the right speaker for the right kind of music you listen to and the kind of volume you listen to. Having done this as long as I have, if there's one thing that I know is that there is no perfect speaker. Each one of us likes different things. Even when we say we like neutrality, musicality, whatever that means, accuracy, again, whatever that means, you will typically have a higher weighting on a certain performance characteristic than maybe I would or he would, and so on. So you do need to listen and see what you prefer. But once you decide what the speaker is going to be, then it will also tell you or inform you what type of amplifier you might want to look into. So, for example, if you really like electrostatic speakers like Martin Logan's, they're incredibly transparent, but they can be a little bit thin sounding. We're talking specifically about the pure electrostats. And so a lot of fans would tend to use tubes with that speaker, because tubes typically have a warmer, softer sound and sort of blends really well with that. So just some little hints as to that topic. If you have any questions, please email us, put them in the feedback. And if you like this video, please subscribe, like it, turn on the notification, and thank you for watching. See you again. Bye.